All right, so do you want to talk about people with private accounts?
Not really.
Why not?
Because I'm a little bit offended that you made a private account and you ask my opinion on, oh, do you think I should do a private account? I'm like, what are you going to put on it? Oh, I don't know, it's just like this sort of stuff I might put on. I'm like, yeah, go for it if you're interested in that. And then, anyway, a few days later, you set up the private account and then you're like, hey guys, I made this private account, and then you accept, I don't know, 20 odd, maybe more people onto the account, and I apply, and then you reject me. And for some reason, you're like, oh yeah, I just don't want you to see it. Whereas I think I must be closer to you than most of those people. And whatever the reason is, I just feel a bit offended, and I would rather you not talk to me about this private account that you're never going to let me have access to.
Right. So I am going to talk about it, and I did that purposefully because I wanted to discuss. I've seen more and more often recently people having private Twitter accounts alongside their public account, where they'll post something that they don't want the general people to see, or maybe even specific people on their timeline to see. And I was trying to think about what the upsides and downsides to that were, and what different social implications of that are. And one I could immediately think of was private account, you need to request to see. Because I have a bunch of Twitter accounts, so I was like, I'll just take one of those, I'll make one of them private, I'll say this is my private account and see what happened. And then I thought, because I knew we were going to be talking about Twitter, I was like, I want to test to see I wanted to see what it would be like in regards to like unfollowing people, because I think it's essentially the same thing, where you're blocking somebody out of your Twitter experience. So I chose you as the guinea pig to say, well, I'm going to create this account, and then I'm going to see, you're obviously going to apply to see it, and I'm going to reject you, because I wanted to see what your reaction to that would be. And I didn't tell you I was doing it for the podcast because I wanted an honest reaction. And you got immediately offended at it, and you were immediately upset at it, which is difficult because people on Twitter don't know each other a lot of people don't know each other that well, or they gauge their friendships because they don't know each other in real life, so they gauge their relationship with these people based on their interactions on Twitter. And some people may mean that more honestly or more sincerely than others. You never really find that out until you try and meet them in person, or you try and do something a bit more personal. And this is like that. So I created a private account where I have to specifically approve people. So I went to the point of accepting a bunch. I now have more followers in that account than the podcast has, and that happened very quickly. Yeah. So the experiment that I wanted was to see if I could create the account, tweet a couple of things, and I did ask a few questions, and I mostly got followed by private accounts. So it wasn't people who I follow, it wasn't their public accounts that they tweeted, it was their private accounts. So a couple of people I didn't even know had private accounts. I'm not going to discuss the contents of them. I thought it was very interesting, the reaction to it, and then I wanted to see if anybody would ask about why they had or hadn't got approved. So what I did was I accepted more people than I wanted, and then I deleted people.
Mm-hmm.
And then within about a couple of hours, they direct messaged my public account, seeing how I was and seeing what was up and stuff. You had the exact same reaction, where you requested to follow the account. You then said, "Oh, have you accepted everyone?" And I said no. And then a day or so later, you requested to follow. I can't remember what I said to you. I sent you a message saying something. Oh no, yeah, I sent you a joke message saying I think I'm going to start doing a porn account, and you immediately followed the account again, which is weird. And then asked,
I mean, that obviously just reminded me of the private one that you had, and right. I went back to it, and I was like, because I don't get a message to say that you've been rejected. And no. I'm pretty sure that at the time when I'd asked before, I hadn't been rejected yet. It was on pending. So I went back and I was like, I'm not on pending anymore. Like, I'm just on, I have the option to follow. So I was like, that's weird. I was like, whatever. So I just decided to follow again.
And then you directly asked me, did you reject me? Or did you reject me from your private account? To which I said yes. And then you went, okay, whatever. And then you just didn't talk to me again for the rest of the evening. And I thought that was interesting because you got super pissed. There are two reasons why I think that that private accounts are... No, actually, there's not two reasons. This puts pressure on me to make reasons.
The first reason that I have in my mind. The second reason that I haven't thought of yet, but I'm going to have
but
to
I plan on it.
come up with something.
My issue with the private account is if you have public people follow you, and I did this as well because I posted a poll on my private account, and it was a fairly personal matter, and I did it because I wanted to see what people thought, and two, I wanted to see if anyone replied, and people did reply, and public accounts replied, and then you can gauge the context of my original tweet, and the content of the poll by the content of their reply, and that's I think is a problem with private accounts because you can see half of a conversation if someone's got a public account and they're talking to a private account, so I can see half of what's going on, and I can guess what it is that they're talking about. And then another thing was, if you're really concerned about people seeing what you're saying, find a different outlet.